So the other day I posted to the ModDB an image that was displaying the capabilities of a parallaxing shader that I've been working on. That shader is pretty much complete at this point. The footage that you saw the other day was very much still a work in progress, so I understand if you looked at it and you were kind of like, that doesn't really look very nice. But I've finished it and have started applying it to actual levels in game, so I wanted to show off Hoth. Now, I'll just let this video play here and focus on an area of cliffs on the Hoth map. So if we come in here and focus on this area, you see what looks like an ordinary cliff with some ice on top, but as I pan the camera around, pay special attention to the pixels in this area and watch how they kind of distort and reshape themselves depending on the camera angle. And we can see it here as well, especially when I move up and down. That's the parallax at work, trying to fake what you can see as the camera. Move back over there. Anyway, you can see it's a flat surface as far as the terrain geometry goes. But as I move that camera around, it's trying to simulate 3 dimensions. So if I zoom out and show you the whole level, obviously the further you're zoomed out, the more subtle this effect is going to be. But it's one of those tiny details that you see without even realizing it, if that makes sense. We come over here and look at some more glaciers and rocks. We can get a good idea. This is a good example as well. You can see that kind of big rock right here being the most prominent feature. Very flat surface as far as the geometry is concerned, but you can see those pixels stretching and moving as I move the camera, so that when I zoom out, you can still kind of see that effect, but when you're playing the game, you're not going to scrutinize over it that much. It won't be that obvious, but it tricks the eye into thinking that there's actually some geometry there, some more detail in the model, when actually there's not. So the parallaxing shader isn't perfect. You can't replace geometry with it. But when you're talking about an entire level, if I were to go in and model every detail on every single one of those cliffs, your graphics card and processor would melt. I mean, that's levels of detail in a strategy game that are just insane. So even though it's not, a one-to-one real-life comparison in terms of how it renders its fake 3D surfaces, it's a good compromise for strategy games to use it in place of actual geometry for the sake of performance. So I'm going to continue to refine some of my normal maps and other textures to make it work as best as possible, but at least in my humble opinion, I feel like it's a hell of a step up from the original terrain shaders that you see here. This is using the same exact textures with normal maps applied, but with the vanilla terrain shader as opposed to parallaxing. So you be the judge. I think it's a big step up, and I hope you agree.